we need to talk about, oh, that's gonna be loud. We need to talk about Avengers Endgame and its Steelbook. Well, we don't have to, but I really need to. You're probably wondering, why is it important, Will? Well, usually the home release and its cover isn't that big of a deal, but this is the wrap-up of 10 years of movies. This is the highest grossing film of all time without inflation, because I think with inflation it's still Gone with the Wind, but that's not important. And also, it just could be one of the worst photoshops I've ever seen on anything for a Marvel film, and there are some bad ones. So let's stop wasting time, let's get into this. Let me just break down the front cover of this abomination. Alright, so first up, all the way on the left-hand side, you've got Raccoon, one of the best CGI creations in the Marvel Universe, one of the best CGI creations in cinema, and it appears to be an early render model. It actually looks like the on-set dummy that they use, the kind of stuffed puppet. So yeah, that's wrong. It's also the incorrect outfit that he wears for most of Endgame. Admittedly, everyone on this front cover, barring a few of them, are wearing their Infinity War outfits, so I'm not going to knock down points when that is the case, but bad start. Then we got Nebula, who is a fine image. It is what she wore in Infinity War, not Endgame, but again, that's fine, because she did wear this at the start of the film. But instead, this time the issue is, she's just in this weird shadow that a few of the characters have been given. And I'm not against dynamic lighting or interesting choices for your art, that's fine, but where is that shadow coming from? Like, if you imagine this is a plane of existence, why is there a shadow on Nebula and Ant-Man when you look at this wide shot? There doesn't seem to be a shadow on the ground, it's just like they've been darkened for no reason. Next up is Rhodey, and oh god, I mean, it is as bad as he kind of looked for the end scenes of Infinity War, but that's not a good thing. The head swap is terrible in terms of the angle, the size, it looks gross. Admittedly, Rhodey did wear that set of armor, so in terms of that, I guess that's something that's right from Endgame, but there's so much wrong. The Hulkbuster is on the front cover of Endgame rather than either Bruce Banner or Smart Hulk. Ruffalo really got the short end of the stick. I mean, I get the fact that they might not want to spoil Smart Hulk, but that doesn't mean that you can't have Bruce Banner on the front cover. By chucking the Hulkbuster on here, you remove one of the core 6 members. Everyone else is here. Thor is technically fine. As with Nebula, Rocket, and Rhodey, it is an outfit that he wears in the film, albeit a short amount of time, and they probably didn't want to spoil what he would eventually look like, but they've tried to light up all of the orbs, his kind of Asgardian orbs, or boobies. Some of them are too small, some of them are off-center, and some of them just aren't lit up. And I mean, even how they've done it is horribly. Is that a sentence? I don't care, this Steelbook doesn't deserve a proper sentence. Iron Man! Tony Stark. Holy cow. This one is probably the biggest disgrace on the entire cover. Oh, Will does not like. It is the Mark 50 text, but it's not just that. They've taken the upper portion of the Mark 50 plus the Mark 43 from Age of Ultron. Why? But it's not just that. They've slapped on the chest, and then they've slapped on legs from the Mark 42 armor, which is from Iron Man 3. He doesn't wear that in Endgame, and it's not like the Mark 85 didn't appear in any promotional art. That one absolutely could have been on here, as with Smart Hulk, he was in a few bits of promo art. So why did they create a fake suit and put that on the final appearance of Iron Man? But moving on to someone who was actually totally fine, Captain America wore that costume, that is Chris Evans' head. There is technically nothing wrong here. Obviously he doesn't have his shield, but similar to Thor, similar to Hulk, maybe they wanted to keep that a secret. Black Widow, Natasha, is also technically right. She wears that outfit in Endgame. It's a cool pose. But let's talk about what happens to everyone's feet the further they go back. They become purple. It's like they tried to embed them into the ground, they tried to make it seamless, but all they did was just color their feet purple. How do you do that? How does that get approved to then be put on an official box for Will just doesn't understand. Hawkeye, my boy, Hawkeye, is in the same boat. Bright costume, purple feet. Captain Marvel is there in her original suit, which, yes, isn't what she wore in Endgame, but also, she technically never wore the suit she wore in Endgame, so there probably wouldn't be actual promo art to use of her. Of course, they could, use Photoshop correctly and make her look like her outfit from Endgame, but I can let that part slide. What I can't let slide is the fact they just made her effects on her fists white. It could be a badly done orange glow, but at least make it a color. but white? It's like they tried their best to take any vibrancy, any comic bookiness out of every single character to make this the most washed out Steelbook cover. Scott Lang, Ant-Man, is basically like a yet to be unlocked character in like Street Fighter. You don't know who he is. Who's that Avenger? It's Ant-Man. Could have done that more seamlessly. And on a whole, no one is connected to the ground. Everyone is just kind of floating above the ground, and the ground itself is terrible. If you're saying right at the back it's blurry, that means as we go backwards, you should start to blur out the other characters to make depth of field exist. And they've not done that, so it just looks blurry. This, again, is on an official piece of merchandise. And look, I can't even be bothered to talk about the back. The back image is just insane. Apart from the fact that half of the characters are wearing outfits that they didn't even wear in either Infinity War or Endgame, Scarlet Witch is black and white with red effects over her fists. When was she black and white? And Vision is front and center, the character that did nothing for the entirety of Infinity War and didn't even show up in Endgame. Falcon, again, totally fine, the correct image, but this guy, at the end of the movie, becomes Captain America, and he is the smallest thing in this picture. I will probably have it on that side behind me rather than the side with the living Avengers. Everything's arranged nicer, there's more colors, there's more vibrancy, but if I did have a suggestion for this back cover, I probably would have gone with Thanos, the Black Order, and some Chitauri over the dusted Avengers. Considering there are a lot of characters missing that were dusted or in the end fight that don't get an appearance on the back cover, I just don't think it's worth putting the dusted heroes. And also, Vision doesn't come back, so why even put him on the dusted hero? And why is Scarlet Witch black and white? So you're probably at the point where you're like, Will, why don't you do it better? And I'm not going to say I did, but I did do my own version of it. The biggest change is, of course, color. There is some. I also went with a 3-dimensional Avengers logo because I think it just adds a bit of depth. And I also used images I just found on Google, so if you think this is better, I have less resources than the people that made the original one. Thor is obviously at his full Norse god power with the Stormbreaker and the big belly. Captain America's got his hammer and the shield, and he's just in a cool pose that looks badass on the cover of a film that is his final appearance, so you'd think he would look a little bit cooler than standing with no shield, just kind of chilling. Ant-Man is small, because that's a power he has, and it looks cool. And it's also a little bit more dynamic. Captain Marvel is, of course, still in her look from her origin film, because there still is very little promo art of her in her other outfits, but I think she does the job there. Oh, and also, her fists are glowing orange, not white. And the piece to resist on... Piss? Tony Stark is in the correct armor. This took a little bit of work. I did grab his head from the original promo art, because I did quite like that kind of Jesus-like symbolism, and I tweaked an official promo pic of the Mark 85 to make it in a similar kind of pose. And overall, it's just a bit more exciting to look at. I put it on Reddit, and a few people are keen to get a magnet, which, something similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 one, where it slips over the front. So people kind of want something like this to put over their official one, which is, you know, a little bit telling. But overall, it is just disappointing to see what is one of the biggest films of all time getting such a lackluster steelbook. I'm not asking for anything mind-blowing like this, the Ant-Man steelbook, which is an SSD with Ant-Man kind of bursting through the middle of it. There's even like a back that says slot 2 drive, server away, 100 terabytes, property of Pimtech. I mean, I like steelbooks as simple as this Detective Pikachu one, which is just a nice picture. It just needs to be accurate, it needs to be vibrant, and it just kind of needs to be interesting, and the original Avengers Endgame Steelbook just wasn't that. Also, Scarlet Witch is black and white. If you enjoyed today's video, remember you can leave a like and also subscribe, and let me know down below if there's anything you want me or Josh to talk about. There's 2 videos up there, and also, thanks to our Patreons on this side. You can hit the subscribe button on this side, and down below is a link where you can join our Patreon.